So you want to know how to make a loading screen just like this? Well then, let me show you how it's done. Let's start with the UI. Go to the starter GUI and insert a screen GUI inside of it. Insert a frame inside of your screen GUI. Set its anchor point to 0.5. Set its position to 0.5 and size to 1, also on scale, so it covers the whole screen no matter what. Insert a UI gradient inside of your frame. Change its colors like this. We'll handle the offset later. Rotate it to make it horizontal. Insert multiple text labels depending on your game name length. Scale and position them. Don't forget to only use scale for these operations. Set background transparency to 1. Set text color to white. And duplicate UI gradient inside of each one. Insert a canvas group inside of the main frame. That will serve as our loading bar. We are using canvas group because it's gonna be a loading bar with rounded corners. And if you use the regular frame instead of the canvas group, this will happen. Also, for the canvas group to work, make sure your screen GUI index behavior set to sibling. Insert a UI corner inside of your canvas group and change the offset until you get the result you want. Insert UI stroke and do the same thing with thickness. Now set the canvas group transparency to 1. Insert a frame inside of your canvas group. Set its anchor point to 0, 0.5. Position to 0, 0, 0.50. And size to 0, 0, 1, 0. Insert 2 more text labels. Position them under loading bar like this. Set text color to white. Set text of the first one to loading assets. And second one to something like 9999/9999. Of course, also set their background transparency to 1 and duplicate your gradient into them as well. Now for the running guide thing. So, the easiest way to make this is first get a running animation, something like this. Get a new part, set its material to neon, and scale it like that. Your dummy in the middle of it, like this. And what you want to do now is perfectly position your camera to the side of your dummy. To do that, create a new tab right here, right click, add tools, and search for show view selector here, and enable it. Now simply select your dummy, hit F to center your camera on it, and select the side you want, like this. Insert a highlight inside of your dummy, set fill transparency to 0. You can also add outline if you want. Go to lightning and set the brightness to 0. Now open your animator and screenshot your dummy, let's say every 6 frames. Like this. After that, just remove green screen from your screenshot using your preferred method. Make sure you end up with a transparent PNG like this. Upload all of them to Roblox and arrange into a table like this. Insert another frame inside of our main frame. Position it a little above our canvas group and scale it up like this. Make it fully invisible. Insert another frame inside of that frame. Set its position to 0 and size to 0, 0, 1, 0. Also make it fully transparent. Insert image label inside of that frame. Set its anchor point to 0.50. Position to 1, 0, 0, 0. Size to 1, 0, 1, 0. And very important, set size constraint to relative YY. So our image always remains as a cube and doesn't change its size. And of course duplicate one more UI gradient inside of it. Finally, we got to the scripting part. So, insert a local script inside of the replicated first, and insert your screen GUI inside of it. If you don't know, replicated first is just like replicated storage, but it has loading priority over everything else, primarily used to make loading screens, just like we're doing right now. Get replicated first, content provider, twin service, players, and a local player. Use remove default loading screen on replicated first to remove default loading screen. Though you should know, it will do that as soon as the script loads in and replaces it with yours, not immediately when you open the game, so you can fully get rid of the default loading screen. Get all of the assets you want to preload. We'll talk a little more about that later. Use wait for child on player to get the player GUI, one of the few cases where using wait for child is actually justified. Clone your screen GUI and set its parent to the player GUI. Assign a true variable, create a coroutine, put a while bool equals true do loop here, and what are we going to do now is get the offset ranges for every gradient to make this effect. So you should start with the main frame gradient. You need to get two values, for example mine are minus 0.3 and 0.3. The difference between them is 0.6, so the rest of my gradients values also have to be exactly 0.6 from each other. So next is text 1, my values are 0.4 and minus 0.2. Text 2 values are 0.3 and minus 0.3. Running guy values are 0 and minus 0.6. Assets values are 0.1 and minus 0.5. And asset counts values are 0 and minus 0.6. Now use twin service to make all gradients go back and forth like this. I recommend you to use easing style like sine and in out for easing direction. You can also use twin.completed to wait until the twin finishes. Resume your coroutine to continue the script execution, create a new one, assign a local with 1, create a while true do loop, set running guy image label image to the image in your table equal to the current count. Task.wait, add 1 to your count and check if the count is more than total amount of images in your table. And in that case, set it to 1. And of course resume your coroutine. Use IV in assets loop. Never put task.wait here, it's just for the demonstration. Set asset count text to total amount of assets /I like this. Set the loading bar size to udim.new I divided by total amount of assets 010. And do the same for the hidden bar. And use preload async on the content provider with v to actually load your assets. Close all of your coroutines. By the way, this will run only after everything loads here. Set your bool value to false and use some more twins for the finishing animation. Wait a bit and make everything invisible. You can also delete everything after this, and that's pretty much it. Finally, let's talk a bit about why do all of that in the first place. So, if you try to use unloaded asset for the first time, it's not going to work as you intended, because it needs to load in first. So, for example, sounds will play with a delay. To fix that, we can preload all of the assets that we need using preload async. Also, you don't have to preload everything, just the assets that can be used in the current location. For example, location A has 3 animations, and location B has 3 sounds. You spawn in a location A, so you don't have to preload the sounds that can be played while you are in the location A. That way, you can put a loading screen between those 2 different locations to split the loading time in multiple sections. Also, after initial loading screen that you see when entering the game, you can use so-called hidden loading screens. So basically, it does the exact same thing as the regular one, but instead of slapping a loading GUI on the screen, you force player to do some slow action like famous passing through a narrow gap or opening a heavy door, while the game preloads all the assets in the location you're about to enter. Alright, that would be everything. Hopefully, I was able to teach you one thing or another. Comment what would you like to see next, consider joining my Discord server, go and watch my previous video where I explain how to make Judgment Cut end. I spent way too much time on that video, so I think there is a lot you can learn from it. Leave me a like if you have some to spare, and goodbye.